Hello guys, this is your friend Dark Fox 3.0. We are back with a new fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto hid a forbidden power in the chunin exams and became Anko's darkest obsession? Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And no, start a new fanfic. What? Weren't they supposed to come after 1 month during the third exams? Said a surprised Hana while the others were shocked too. Hi, but I called an emergency meeting due to the Akatsuki, said Sarutobi as he turned to his secretary. Send them in, Akane-san. Hi Hokage-sama, bowed the secretary before leaving. All right, you four. I wished we could see more of the events concerning Naruto-kun, but you have to leave now, said Hiruzen while all of them groaned as they really wanted to see the results of Naruto's training. Oh, and Kurenai, I want you to enter the Forest of Death and keep following Team 7. I'm sure Orochimaru came for a reason and I want you to report any abnormalities. Also, don't interfere in the exams or try to help your team, is that understood? Said the professor with a serious demeanor. Hi Hokage-sama, said a happy Kurenai. Hey, why does Nai-chan get this mission? Yelled Anko while Hana and Yugao were glaring at the Hokage. Because Anko, Kurenai is a genjutsu expert and she can easily blend in with the surroundings and hide her presence, replied Sarutobi calmly. Tough luck Anko-chan, Yugao-chan, Hana-chan, said a grinning Kurenai before disappearing in a puff of smoke. Damn her! All three of them muttered simultaneously before shining out of the office. Sarutobi sighed at their antics. Even if they were matured as a shinobi, they were like kids or sometimes even acted like fangirls when it came to Naruto, but one thing that he was sure about was that they loved him deeply. He had seen their eyes whenever they talked about Naruto or watched him. They were filled with love, compassion, affection, care, and today, a new feeling took birth in those eyes: lust. After seeing Naruto's transformation, their eyes still had the loving gaze for him but with a hint of lust. He sighed as he came out of his musings, now to face the Raikage and the Mizukage. Hope this goes well too, he thought as he went over to his desk waiting for them to arrive. Meanwhile in the Forest of Death, the clearing 20 seconds after the beginning of Tsukiyomi. Kisame was panting, but not much due to the loss of so much chakra. He began to feel tired at about 10 seconds after he started giving Itachi his chakra. If you think rationally, it would look absurd that such high amount of chakra could be depleted in just 20 seconds, which Kisame was currently wondering about. After a few seconds, Naruto and Itachi slowly opened their eyes. Itachi, to reveal his Mangekyo Sharingan while he too was panting heavily, and Naruto, to reveal his Rinnegan with one black ring. No one noticed when his eyes glowed silver for a bit before turning into the same Rinnegan, level 1. Not even Naruto noticed it as his vision was blurry due to the effects of Tsukiyomi, but after a few seconds, it cleared for him to see Itachi on his knees panting heavily while blood oozed out of his eyes. Itachi-sensei, are you alright? Asked a concerned Naruto while Kisame released him from his hold as he regained his breath. Itachi, you pant, okay? Asked Kisame while Naruto took out a food pill and gave it to Itachi. Yeah, pant, I'm gonna be alright, said a tired Itachi before eating the food pill. After a few seconds, he began to feel his chakra getting restored as he stood up. Sensei, are you alright now? And why did blood came out of your eyes? Asked a worried Naruto. That is a side effect of using Mangekyo Sharingan's techniques for a long time, said Itachi as Naruto nodded in understanding while he turned to Kisame. Long time no see, Sharkface, said a smirking Naruto. TCH, It's only been 20 seconds, brat, said Kisame while his eyebrows twitched at his nickname. Oh right. Sorry. I forgot about that, said Naruto while he grinned sheepishly. So how did the brat's training go, Itachi? Asked Kisame. Itachi smirked. Well, let's just say that Naruto-kun is a lot stronger than what a chunin is supposed to be, while Naruto puffed out his chest in pride. Ah, that's a pity. The brat's still no match for me. And I was thinking he would get more stronger, mock frowned Kisame. A tick mark appeared on Naruto's forehead, but he decided to play it cool. You said something, Sharkface? Asked Naruto innocently. Why you? Growled Kisame before he was interrupted. Can it, Kisame? We don't have much time, said Itachi calmly while Kisame, HMPHED, in response. Hee. Gotta thank Kakashi-sensei for that, thought a smirking Naruto. Naruto, said Itachi, gaining his attention while taking out a small sealing scroll from under his Akatsuki robes. Here, this scroll contains the same outfit that Hokage-sama gave me, said Itachi as he threw the scroll in Naruto's direction. Thanks, sensei, said Naruto after catching the scroll. Before we go, I want you to know that after this exam, preliminaries would take place before the third examination where the contestants would fight each other. I know that it will be tough just after the second examination, but it is mainly to weed out some genins before the third exams, said Itachi. But why eliminate the contestants who passed the second exam, said a confused Naruto. According to Hokage-sama, there is a competitive batch this year and he's sure that many genins will pass the second exam. In the third exams, the genins fight each other in front of the nobles and merchants from all over the world, hence we can't waste their time and therefore only a limited number of fights can happen, explained Itachi while Naruto nodded in understanding. Also, the Raikage, Mizukage, Hokage and almost all the Junins of Konoha will watch the preliminaries closely. So don't hold back and show them what you can do. About your dujutsu, I think you should reveal it in the preliminaries too. Believe me, you would love the look on their faces, said Itachi as he remembered his clan members' faces when he activated Sharingan at an early age while Kisame remained quiet and Naruto nodded. I hope we meet again, Naruto-kun, and if possible, keep a watch on Sasuke. I will try, sensei, and thanks for everything, said Naruto as Itachi nodded. Until next time, brat, said a grinning Kisame before the Akatsuki duo shunshined out of the clearing while Itachi did some hand seals to deactivate the barriers. Naruto could only sigh as he recalled all the events that happened since the start of the second exams. First that Orochi Tem attacks them and then Itachi and Kisame interfered. Who would have thought? The disgraced child of the village possessing a legendary dujutsu such as Rinnegan. Oh, he would enjoy the look on their faces, but right now, he just wanted to get some sleep. Guess I'll have to wake Sakura up. But I should change my clothes first, said Naruto as he looked around the clearing, battlefield to find a large tree with a big cave in its trunk. He went in there and after a couple of minutes came out in his new favorite shinobi wear. He then went over to Sakura to wake her up, wondering how will Sakura and Sasuke and most of the village will take to his newfound abilities. Hey Sakura, wake up, said Naruto as he nudged her on the shoulder. She had some bruises here and there, but was otherwise alright. Just 1 minute, mumbled Sakura. Come on, we're in the forest of death, remember, said Naruto as he lightly flicked her forehead. Eventually Sakura opened her eyes to see Naruto bent down in front of her. Naruto, what happened? Asked Sakura with blurry eyes as she slowly remembered all the events that took place while her eyes widened. Hey, Where's Orochimaru and what happened to Sasuke-kun? Asked Sakura frantically as she quickly stood up. Sasuke's right there, said Naruto as he pointed in Sasuke's direction. Before following his finger, she saw Naruto properly for the first time after she woke up. She immediately blushed a furious red upon seeing him. Whoa, who's this hunk? Said inner Sakura. Who are you? Asked Sakura with a blush while Naruto's sweat dropped as he thought. Did I really change that much? Naruto, Uzumaki Naruto. Nice to meet you, said Naruto in a mock greeting while he extended his hand. Oh, it's nice to meet you Uzumaki-san. Wait what? Exclaimed Sakura, who first shook his hand but then realized a bit too late while in Naruto's head, a chibi Naruto was laughing his off. She fell for it. Oh damn, I can't believe it. Naruto, what happened to you? You've suddenly grown and what's the change in your clothes? Asked a surprised Sakura, but he was even more surprised by her reply. He thought that she would lash at him any minute now while screeching like, Sasuke-kun is much better than you. Well, let's just say I underwent a transformation during my fight with Orochimaru and I became tired of my jumpsuit. To answer your previous question, Orochimaru fled the scene due to the circumstances I can't tell you, said Naruto with a frown as he knew where this was going. But why can't you tell me? I'm your teammate and we should trust each other, said a hurt Sakura. After witnessing some of Naruto's fight with Orochimaru today, her views of Naruto somewhat changed. She could now clearly see that Naruto was easily the strongest member of the team, and even though he was obnoxious and rash, he deserved some respect. Since when were we teammates, Sakura? What you're stating now is something you should have said on the day of team selections, which I did said to you, but the only reply I got was a lump on my head. Since when was it about teamwork, especially with me? You guys never bothered to even acknowledge me as a teammate. On the day of the bell test, when my shadow clone came to your hiding spot, you didn't even bother to listen to me, instead just dispelled it by punching it. The same happened to the shadow clone who approached Sasuke, stating that I was a loser and would only hinder his progress. Do you know why I came to you guys, huh? Do you? I came to tell you about the actual meaning of the test, i.e., teamwork, while I fought Kakashi-sensei, said Naruto. But I thought you were just trying to be the hero, taking a chunin head-on, stuttered Sakura. Just because I acted loud, obnoxious and stupid doesn't mean that I was one. The first time during the academy I approached you, I wanted to be friends with you, but you just ignored me. I always strived for acknowledgement and recognition. I had no one to take care of me while you had parents, relatives and friends. You can't judge a person just by his appearance. Take our Hokage for example. Does he look harmful to you? I'm sure you would have thought, oh, he's just a grandfather material. What can the old coot do? He would probably break his back if he bends even once. But he's Hiruzen Sarutobi, the famed professor, trained by the Nadaime and the teacher of 3 legendary Sanins, the man who survived the 2 great shinobi wars and has mastered every ninja art of this village. He can still take on an army of Junins without a sweat. Appearances are the biggest deceptions for a shinobi. Seeing Kakashi-sensei's lazy attitude, you would have thought he would be taken down rather easily by a surprise attack, but he's always dead on alert and ready for any kind of attack. If you would have tried to know me, you could have seen the real me. You guys, the rookie 9, don't have the flukest of idea about what kind of burden I carry every day. My life has no place even in the most hellish nightmares you have ever seen. I dare you or anyone in this village to live my life for at least 1 month, then you'll know what Uzumaki Naruto is all about, then you'll know the story of the so-called dead last, said Naruto angrily while Sakura was shocked to the core. All that was, just a mask. A mask that none of us could see through. We always thought that he was the weakest of us, but in reality, he was the strongest, much stronger than us. But the bottom line is that you've nothing to gain my trust, Sakura, and you know it. So don't even bother asking anything, said Naruto in a cold tone while he went over to Sasuke and slung him on his back. Meanwhile, Sakura bowed her head in shame as she remembered all the times when she looked down on Naruto for no apparent reason. She will make sure that she'll at least be able to remain friends with him. I'm sorry, Naruto, but from now on, I'll treat you with the respect you deserve even if Sasuke-kun objects to it, thought Sakura. Come on, over here. I found a cave for us to rest up a bit. We still have 4 days left, said Naruto while pointing to the large hole in a tree trunk. Sakura followed while she felt more sad as she noticed the lack of chan to her name. He laid Sasuke down while Sakura entered the lightly lit cave, seeing that the sun was now setting down. Those clothes look good on you, Naruto, said Sakura with a sincere smile. Naruto was surprised when he heard the compliment. Sakura had never said anything nice to him. What was up with her all of a sudden? I know that I treated you very badly ever since I met you. But I'm now determined to change and earn your trust and friendship, said a determined Sakura. Naruto was taken aback by the fact that Sakura wanted to be friends with him, something he wanted in the academy, while his lips slowly turned into a small smile. I guess everyone deserves a second chance, but I have to keep an eye on her if she's planning something, thought Naruto with an almost unnoticeable smile. I'll think about it, but you should check on Sasuke's condition, he's pretty beaten up, said Naruto as he pointed to Sasuke beside him with his thumb. Oh right, I almost forgot about Sasuke-kun, said Sakura while she hurriedly went over to Sasuke before she started applying bandages to his wounds from a first aid medic kit she seemed to carry. Naruto, he's running a high fever. What do we do? We need cold water, but I don't think there's a source of water nearby, said Sakura worriedly. Leave that up to me, said a smirking Naruto as he combined his wind and water chakra to form a big block of ice in his hands. He then used his wind-natured chakra to cut the block into small cubes, still in his hands. Will these do? Asked Naruto as he gave her the cubes. Meanwhile, Sakura's expression was priceless. She couldn't believe what she saw. First, Naruto created ice just like that mist ninhaku and sliced them from out of nowhere. She could only nod dumbly and accept the cubes as she put them on Sasuke's forehead. Naruto, how did you do that? Asked Sakura after tending to Sasuke's injuries. Naruto sighed as he knew how many questions would be coming, not just from Sakura and Sasuke, but from almost everyone who knew him. Look, Sakura, I can't tell you anything right now as it is an S-ranked secret, but from now on you'll see me do things that'll make you go haywire. So whatever it is, just take it in without any questions, and if you gain enough of my trust, I may tell you everything after the chunin exams are over, said Naruto seriously while he took out his own sleeping bag and sealed his cape to get comfortable, which resulted in Sakura being gobsmacked as she didn't know that Naruto knew how to use sealing scrolls. Okay, Naruto, if you say so. But really, that was awesome, and I know that you'll definitely become chunin this time, Dadbao, said Sakura while giggling at the last word and took out her own sleeping bag as she dragged Sasuke onto it. Yeah, I hope so, mumbled a faintly smiling Naruto as he closed his eyes to get some sleep. I guess the battle between me and Orochimaru opened her eyes to the reality. Maybe she still has a chance, thought Naruto. Well, I'm going to keep watch as I don't feel like sleeping. I'll wake you up if something happens, said Sakura as she walked towards the exit of their temporary shelter. Sure. Thanks, Sakura, said Naruto before drifting off to sleep. Hokage's office just after the Ice Queens left. Hiruzen Sarutobi sat on his chair smoking when the door to his office opened. First to enter was a beautiful busty lady with an angelic body most women would kill for. She had long flowing silky red hair, hazel green eyes with attractive black eyelashes, milk creamy skin, D-cup, slim waist and toned legs. She was Terumi Mei, Godime Mizukage of Kurigakure. She had a bit of makeup on her face with red lipstick and bluish eyelids like Kurenai, wearing a blue top which was reaching to just above her knee. Under this outfit, she wore a mesh armor. She had the Kiri's blue cage hat with a kanji for water on it and wore a cheerful expression on her face. Greetings Hokage Dono, said Mei with a smile. Along with her were her two bodyguards, namely Ao and Chojiro. Ah, welcome Mizukage Dono. I hope your journey was safe, said a smiling Sarutobi. Of course Hokage Dono, replied the Mizukage cheerfully before signaling Ao and Chojiro to come forward. These are my bodyguards, Ao and Chojiro. We are honored to be in your presence Hokage-sama, said Ao while bowing, whereas Chojiro also bowed, somewhat timidly without saying anything. This was the famed Hiruzen Sarutobi after all, the professor, and the man who survived two great shinobi wars. He was a shinobi of virtue and wisdom, trained by the best and trained the best, so naturally they were somewhat nervous. At ease you two, no need to be so formal, said the smiling Hokage while radiating a warm aura. Understood Hokage-sama, said Ao as he bowed again. Mei and Hiruzen sweat dropped. He understood nothing, both thought simultaneously. The door opened again and the next one to walk in was a tall and a dark muscular figure. He wore a loose cage robe revealing his front muscular chest and abs. He wore black shinobi pants, gum metal boots, heavy metallic bracelets on his forearms and had white hair. He was a Yondaime Reikage of Kumogakure. With him entered 5 more people. Among them was a man with similar physical characteristics as A, only differences being his attire with black shades, a white bandana and a blue tattoo on each cheek. He was Kurabi, Killer B, Jinchuriki of the Hachibi. Next was a 17-year-old teen with long blonde hair, greenish-yellow slitted eyes with an orange contrast to the pupil. She had red lipstick, her hair in a single ponytail. She wore a Junin attire and had a Kumo Hitai 8 on her forehead. She was Yugito ni, Jinchuriki of the Nibi, and was an epitome of beauty, having an hourglass figure, C-cup and flawless tanned skin. Next was her adoptive sister, Samui ni, having short blonde hair, light blue eyes and was rather well endowed for her age, especially her chest region. She had D-cup often leading to cramps and aches in her shoulders, was 14 years old and wore a chunin attire. Next to her were her two dark-skinned 14-years-old teammates Karui and Omoi, who wore identical chunin attires. Karui had an "will take no bullshit" look on her face while Omoi was sucking on a lollipop, having an anxious look on his face. Hokage Dono, Mizukage Dono, bowed in respect along with his companions. Hiruzen too stood up from his chair and bowed. I'm glad that you could take time from your busy schedule to attend this emergency meeting, said the Hokage with a smile. I hope your journey was safe, Reikage Dono, said Mei with her usual cheerfulness. Of course. Who do you think I am? I am best taijutsu user in the lightning country after all, said A with a grunt. Yugito's sweat dropped. Has he ever heard of the word modest? Geez. Thanks for stating the obvious. With all those overgrown muscles, who wouldn't think of him as a taijutsu specialist, thought Mei sarcastically while still smiling on the outside. True Reikage Dono, but let's get to the business, said Hiruzen as he suddenly became serious. I presume those two are among the 5 of your bodyguards behind you, continued Hiruzen as the Reikage nodded seriously. Alright, please take a seat all of you, and don't worry, the privacy seals are already activated along with the visibility barrier that even the Byakugan or Sharingan can't penetrate through. All of them sat around the table while Ao quietly checked the seals with his Byakugan, but Hiruzen noticed it. Meanwhile, the Reikage introduced his brother. This here is my little brother Kurabi, said a while pointing towards Killer Bee. Yo-yo, the name's Killer Bee. And I can see that although you're an old bunch, you still pack quite a punch, said Kurabi as Yugito slapped him on the backhead. You idiot. This is an important meeting and we don't have time for your horrible rapping, hissed Yugito angrily while Mei, Chojiro and Ao were surprised at the blunt greeting. Forgive my idiot brother Hokage Dono, apologized a while glaring at Kurabi. I can see that he's the lively one in your group, said a chuckling Hiruzen. But also, he's the Jinchuriki of the Hachibi and can control it up to 5 tails, said a seriously while the Kiri group's eyes widened. To control 5 tails of a Biju was no easy task, even their Yondaime Mizukage Yagura of the Sanbi had sometimes trouble in controlling the 3rd tail while Hiruzen remained calm. This is Yugito ni, Jinchuriki of the Nibi and can currently control only 1 tail. These 3 are Kurabi's students Karui, Omoi and Samui, said a while Hiruzen and Mei sweat dropped. Even his students' names have a rhyme to them. I wonder if he gave it to them, thought Mei and Sarutobi simultaneously. I'm sure they will be glad to see their 2 fellow Jinchuriki here, said Sarutobi. Ah, the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. But who's the other one? Asked Mei. The other one is the Suna's Jinchuriki Sabaku no Gara, hosting the Aikibi and son of the Yondaime Cage, said the Hokage seriously. Alright, I think it's time we the main issue here, i.e. the Akatsuki, said a while Sarutobi nodded. Hi, but there is one thing I must inform you about, is that I have 2 spies in that organization, so it will be somewhat easy to keep track of their movements. 2. You only told me about Uchiha Itachi, but who's the other one? Asked a confused A. By the approval of Mizukage Dono here, how Shigaki Kisame is my other spy as he's not liked much in Kiri, said Sarutobi. A whistled, that's a huge bonus. I've heard about the chakra reserves of that guy being equal to a Jinchuriki. But there's another main reason for this meeting. Reikage Dono, I hope you remember that you owe me for the Hyuga incident because of your previous Reikage, said Hiruzen with his piercing gaze fixated on A, who nodded. In Mizukage Dono, I'm sure that after the Bloodline War Zhu being finished, that Kiri is in its weakened state right now and you would be looking for some alliances, continued Sarutobi. Mei nodded, but what are you? But she was interrupted by a loud cry and the sound of glass being broken. Dynamic entry. Sarutobi face-palmed himself while crying anime tears, muttering things like, why now? And, what have I done to deserve this? Everybody, except the Hokage, turned their heads to see the most horrible sight in their ninja careers that would haunt them in their most vicious nightmares for the rest of their lives. There standing in front of them was the weirdest human they had ever seen, a male with a tight green spandex, bowl-shaped hair, had the biggest and thickest eyebrows in the history of Homo sapiens. What added more to his nightmarish appearance was that he was standing in a thumbs-up pose and his teeth were shining so much that even Amaterasu and Tsukiyomi would feel jealous. So much shine was there that all of them had to cover their eyes, even Killer Bee, who had his shades, couldn't pierce through this strange flash illumination effect. Damn, I forgot the physical barrier. I hope they can sleep properly from now on, thought a pale-faced Sarutobi. Yash, Hokage-sama, my youthful ears have picked up some youthful information that Raikage-sama and Mizukage-sama have arrived, shouted this epitome of weirdness. Shit, 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 damn shit, I should have warned those four about keeping this to themselves, mentally cursed the Hokage, who was currently sweating bullets on how to handle this situation. That was a cool entry. Fuzzy eyebrow, although ya look like shitty scarecrow, tried to wrap the Jinchuriki, followed by a typical punch to his head by the fellow Jinchuriki, resulting in him falling face first on the ground. However, this time Yugito couldn't say anything as she was stunned into silence. Even Nibby was panicked. Kitten, stay away from this thing. Ah, we're gonna die, screamed Nibby in Yugito's head while she could only nod with her. Back in my days, never mind, I've never seen such a thing, murmured Ao. That is not cool, said a surprised Samui while Mei, A and Chojiro were rendered speechless. Yugito-san, you shouldn't hit B-sensei like that. If you punch him that hard, what if he gets angry, resulting in him releasing the Hachibi? Then it will go on a rampage, slaughtering us all and destroying Konoha in the process, which would further result into a fourth great shinobi war and ultimately, leading to the extinction of the human race, said Omoi while he anxiously sucked on his lollipop. A vein popped on Karui's forehead, followed by a punch to his head, resulting in him throwing his lollipop in the direction of Guy. Oh, thought Karui. What is this unyouthful thing? Said Guy after catching Omoi's suck toy and was currently inspecting it. All eyes were on Guy, wanting to see his reaction, but what he did next threw them for the loop. He put the lollipop in his damn mouth and started sucking on it. Wosh. Twish fwing t sast shouthful, said Guy, who sucking on the lollipop and was grinning like an idiot. Please tell me this is not happening, thought Mei with a look of dread on her face. No, how dare you eat my lolly-chan, yelled Omoi with a look of horror on his face while pointing an accusing finger at Guy. Your flames of youth have dampened my boy. You should share such youthful things with youthful people. Like hell I would share something with a freak like you. And what's this youthful crap you're blabbering about? Screamed Omoi, whereas Karui was surprised as she had never seen him so worked up. No wonder Konoha is the strongest village. With people like him here, wars can be won with just his appearance, thought as Omoi and Guy continued to argue. Hokage Dono, I would advise that you send this man out and continue with this meeting, said a smiling Mei while her eyebrows twitched constantly. She was really resisting the urge to melt this man's unyouthful balls. Hiruzen nodded and ordered Guy to leave the office. As you wish, Hokage-sama. Reverse dynamic entry, yelled Guy before leaving the office and breaking another window in the process, the cursed lollipop still in his mouth while a tick mark appeared on Sarutobi's forehead. He just had to break another window, thought the Hokage while Omoi was sulking at the corner, muttering words like, Lolly-chan getting raped, and all. Let's not waste any more time, Hokage Dono, said after regaining his composure. Hi, but what were you implying before the disturbance, Hokage Dono? Asked Mei while everyone else paid attention at that. Right, said Sarutobi while clearing his throat. Hiruzen Sarutobi, Sandame Hokage of Konohagakure no Sato, propose an all-out triangular alliance with Kiri and Kumo consisting of military, trade and political alliances, said Sarutobi with a smirk while his cage hat shadowed his face, creating a rather dramatic effect. Everyone else's jaws dropped on the ground and their eyes as wide as saucers. What? stuttered Mei. If what she heard was true, then this was a huge moment for Kiri. Never had she thought that Konoha, the strongest village in the world, would propose an alliance with any village, much less Kiri, which was now the weakest. She herself was going to talk about a possible alliance in this meeting in hopes that the Hokage might agree. If she accepted this alliance, not only will they be allianced to Konoha but also Kumo. It would be like hitting two birds with one stone. And what more, it was a complete traditional alliance consisting of military, trade and political alliances, meaning that the villages would get full access to each other village's military, resource cooperation, and they could share their political affairs with each other. Meanwhile, the Raikage was also thinking along the same lines, but he was a bit skeptical. But what's the catch, Hokage Dono? Surely a village as strong as Konoha would like to remain neutral and not risk war with our enemies. You wouldn't want an alliance for nothing, would you? Said the suspicious Raikage. There's no catch about it, Raikage Dono. I simply want this alliance to confront Akatsuki, our common enemy, protect our Jinchuriki, and prevent a possible fourth great shinobi war, said Hiruzen seriously. Mizukage-sama and you have all experienced wars. We know that it is an endless cycle of hatred, fear and pain. I just don't want this generation to go through it, continued Sarutobi while glancing in the direction of Karui, Omoi and Samui as A and Mei too nodded with sadness. So, what do you saw, Raikage Dono, Mizukage Dono? Asked Hiruzen. Sure, Hokage Dono. Kiri would be happy to go along with this multi-village alliance with Konoha, said a cheerful Mei. Well, Kumo does follow militaristic approach and I also owe one, so I guess we'll go with it. We'll pursue our dreams with you, said A with a smirk. Hiruzen nodded, satisfied with their decision, as Konoha and Naruto would have a much better chance against the Akatsuki. While I'm sure that Iwa would straight out decline the proposal, but what about Suna? Asked Mei. I did send the Kazekage an invitation for this meeting, but so far they haven't even answered and I'm a bit suspicious of him. Lately, the Wind Daimyo has been cutting Suna's missions short and turning them over to us, thus they are financially lacking and I think they are about to take some action soon, said the Hokage seriously while Mei and A nodded with a grim look on their faces. Oh ho! Now that we have Kiri Kono Kumo alliance, the Akatsuki are going to face on hell of a defiance. You know who opened his rap box. For once, I agree with Sensei. This alliance is cool, said Samui with a smirk while everyone nodded with her with a smile. So where's the Kyuubi Jinchuriki? He must be around 12 years old, asked a curious Raikage. Although the villagers hate him with passion, he is the ray of joyness and purity for this village and is also like a grandson for me. His name is Naruto and is currently taking part in the chunin exams. Is he strong, Hokage-sama? So far the only thing we've heard about him from the villagers is that he is a shrimp, loud and annoying, a prank master and a dead last who flunked his graduation exams twice, said Yugito. Do not believe those foolish villagers. It was just a part of his mask and he thinks that I don't know about it. You're a Jinchuriki, you should know that the leakage of a Biju's chakra in your chakra coils messes up your chakra control, hence it's difficult to create a bunshin which requires a small amount of chakra, thus the reason for failing twice in the academy, said Sarutobi seriously. But I and Kurabi-sensei passed the examinations in the first year, argued Yugito. That was because Naruto had it worse than a normal Jinchuriki like you should, said Hiruzen. What do you mean, Hokage Dono? How was the boy's life until now? Asked a confused A while the others listened intently. The Nibi, Hachibi or any other Biju except the Kyuubi have not caused the magnitude of destruction to a Jinchuriki's village as compared to the destruction the Kyuubi caused 12 years ago. More than half of our village was destroyed, 3/4 of our shinobi having families were killed, which gave birth to an infinite amount of fear, pain, anger and hatred to the villagers and the shinobi here. They had to vent their anger on someone, which resulted in Naruto being the scapegoat of their hatred. I'm not justifying their actions, just telling you. For Jinchuriki like you, although people in your village still hate you, they only prefer to keep their distance from you and ignore you. But in Naruto's case, I'm not going to go into the details, but he was treated much harshly than you guys. He was not taught properly by any of the teachers except one, and that too on his passing year, explained the professor with a sad expression on his face, while others too were saddened by this. Meanwhile Yugito and Kurabi were shocked that someone had taken it harder than them and still survived through it. You want to know how strong he is, right? How about we go see ourselves the preliminaries, said a smirking Hiruzen. Sure Hokage Dono, we would like to see this enigma and his skills, as he does contains the strongest of the Biju, replied Mei happily. I guess so, I've been itching to watch some fights anyway, said a while all of them stood up. The preliminaries would be held in 4 days. Until then you're free to do anything as you wish with my Anbu trailing you for security purposes, so please cooperate with them. I've already arranged for your stay, so please follow your escort standing outside the door to your hotel, said Hiruzen with a smile as A and Mei nodded while wondering how strong the Ikibi and the Kyuubi Jinchuriki were. Kurenai, after checking on her team, obviously not letting them aware of her presence, had reached the clearing some time ago. She could sense Naruto's distinct type of chakra as well as 2 other chakras coming from a trunk cave in the area. So far, she couldn't see or feel anything out of the ordinary coming from Team 7, so she applied a high-level genjutsu on herself and kept herself hidden for the time being while keeping a watch for anything out of the ordinary. After some time, she saw Haruno Sakura come out, who then started laying traps around their temporary residence. The traps were nothing special, but good enough for a bunch of weak genins. While Sakura was busy, Naruto had already drifted to sleep. Naruto's mindscape. Drip. Drip. Where am I? Thought Naruto as he found himself in some corridors where water was filled to his knees. One moment he was sleeping, in another, he was in this damn sewer. The area was dimly lit and he had no idea how. He then started walking wherever the path was taking him. After some time, he heard a faint sound of crying coming from ahead of him. He then started running in the direction from where the sound was coming from, but it strangely sounded feminine. He came to a halt in front of a large cage, with a small piece of paper on the middle with a kanji for seal on it. He could clearly hear the sounds of someone crying from the other side of the cage and was really nervous now. First he found himself in this sewer and then this, it could also be a trap or something. He then noticed that he didn't had any kunai or shuriken holsters wrapped to his thighs, but was shocked when suddenly a kunai materialized in midair in front of him. What the hell? I was thinking of drawing out a kunai and it materialized, thought Naruto, but was dragged out of his musings when the sounds of crying got louder. He cautiously approached the cage with a kunai in front of him but could see nothing in the cage as it was dark while he activated his Rinnegan. He gasped when he saw a bright source of overflowing red chakra. He put the 2 and 2 together as he thought about the cage, the seal kanji, the red chakra, and came to an obvious conclusion. The Kyuubi. It's crying. What the hell? Am I dreaming, and why didn't anyone tell me that it was a female? Thought Naruto before he stopped just outside the cage. Hello. Anybody there? Said a nervous Naruto. He was talking to Kyuubi no Kitsune after all, so had to be careful. The crying suddenly stopped and he could hear and as well as see that she was shuffling inside while wiping her tears. Who it? Naruto-kun, is that you? Said a shaky feminine voice which was even more scared than Naruto's. The hell is going on here? Why is she scared of all people, or demons? Thought Naruto as he slowly progressed towards the inside of the cage. Although he knew that he could be dead within seconds, but something in him told that he should comfort her. She didn't look all that scary, and he thought that Kyuubi was a giant fox and not a feminine human or whatever. Yeah, my name is Uzumaki Naruto, your vessel. Pleased to meet ya, said Naruto while he laughed nervously. He was now completely inside the cage, but the next thing he knew, he was tackled by a red blur resulting in him falling on the wet floor. She was so fast even his Rinnegan couldn't follow it. He thought that he would be dead anytime now as he mistaked it for an attack, but when he opened his eyes, all he could see were two small cute fox ears while Kyuubi's face was buried in his chunin vest. She was sobbing uncontrollably, repeatedly saying, "Sorry." He also noted the nine tails swishing in midair and her long silky red hair which reached to her lower back. He couldn't bear to see any female cry even if it was the Kyuubi. If she was as bad as the legends told, then she already would have killed him. Why are you saying sorry? Asked a confused Naruto while he absent-mindedly started stroking her ears. Kyuubi immediately blushed while she started to purr and leaned more into his touch. She was brought out of her comfort when Naruto voiced the same question again. She lifted her face to find that she was only inches away from his face. Both of them blushed crimson red as they saw each other's facial characteristics. To Naruto, he had never seen someone so beautiful. Her heart-shaped face, red eyes with black slits, small nose and pink supple lips, all seemed to yell, angelic. Her complexion was glowing white and he couldn't help but wonder, how the hell did she maintain herself in this sewer? To Kyuubi, he was very adorable, cute and handsome at the same time. His spiky blonde hair, tan skin and whiskers added to his appearance. But what really threw her for the loop was when she noticed her eyes. Naruto was brought out of his trance-like state when he heard her gasp. The Rinnegan, I can't believe it. It truly has finally awakened after so many years, whispered Kyuubi with a look of astonishment on her face. Her eyes were watery red and her cheeks were puffy due to crying so much. Naruto could only stare at her beautiful face. He didn't know why or how, but he kind of felt attracted to her, like there was a bond between him and her. He felt a pang in his heart, to see the almighty Kyuubi no Kitsune cry, how ironic. So instinctively, he brought his hand to her face and wiped her tears. At first, she blushed furiously, but then leaned into his touch. Why are you crying? Asked Naruto softly. At this, more tears started forming in her eyes but she controlled herself. Just now, I saw all of your memories. I saw how you were treated all your life just because of me. I'm so sorry. At this she again broke down as she sobbed uncontrollably while hugging Naruto tightly to her. He blushed when he felt her tightly pressed against his chest but he had more important things to do. He hugged her back while rubbing her red hair lovingly whereas she continued to cry. After some time, she stopped crying and began to enjoy the warmth that Naruto seemed to be radiating. Q-chan? Asked Naruto while still rubbing her hair. She blushed at the addition of chan to her name while humming, in response to indicate she was listening. What did you mean by just now? Why didn't you appear early in my life, and I thought that you were a giant fox, not a beautiful lady, said Naruto, still clueless that he was flirting with her while her blush got darker in shade, but he couldn't see it as her face was buried in his chest. First, I would like you to know why I attacked your village, said Kyuubi as she lifted her face and stared Naruto right in his purple eyes. What do you mean? Didn't you just go on a rampage? Asked a confused Naruto while Kyuubi shook her head. Your mother, Naruto-kun, was my previous host, said Kyuubi, shocking Naruto to his very core, but before he could speak, she continued. When she gave birth to you, someone attacked her. After a Jinchuriki gives birth, her seal gets weakened considerably. So that day, a man with a black cloak wearing an orange spiral mask on his face attacked her just after giving birth to you. I still don't clearly remember the incident, but I do know that he somehow released me. He had the Sharingan, although I couldn't clearly see what form it was, but it was definitely Mangekyo or above. When I saw him in the eyes, something snapped in me. After that, the only thing I remember is me attacking your village, and the rest is somewhat blank, only blurred visions of that incident, just like amnesia. What I know is that he trapped me in very powerful genjutsu which was active till today. After the sealing, I got some of my consciousness back and tried to dispel the genjutsu, but couldn't do it until you awakened your Rinnegan. That's why you could easily control one tail of my chakra, because some part of me was constantly trying to help you since the sealing. Remember your battle at the bridge in the Wave Country, when you first time accessed my chakra because of your emotions? Well, my guess is that that somewhat weakened your seal. So after that, when you tried to willingly harness my chakra, even with your sensei's help, didn't you find it surprisingly easy? It was because I was giving you my one tail worth of chakra whenever you needed it, explained Kyuubi while Naruto was shell-shocked. He didn't know that she was trying to help him all along. He always chased academy teachers or other shinobi for any kind of help, but she was all along helping him. Whenever he was injured, she made extra effort besides the seal to heal him as quickly as possible, as the seal didn't leak much of her yuki to heal critical wounds. Tears slowly started forming in his eyes as he tightly hugged her to his body again. Q-chan, thank you very much. You don't know how much it means to me, said Naruto happily. With what you have endured, Naruto-kun, I would do anything for you to redeem myself, said Kyuubi while blushing as she could feel his tight muscles under his black Junin-like vest. Meanwhile, Naruto started to rub her back soothingly, but he noticed something odd. Instead of cloth fabric, he could feel soft flesh. Then he realized. Oh Kami, now she's going to kill me thinking that I'm a pervert, thought a scared Naruto, but was surprised to hear a moan escape her lips while he still unconsciously continued to rub her back. Naruto-kun, moaned Kyuubi as she drew closer to Naruto's face while he himself started to close the gap. But what about Hinata? He knew that he shouldn't be doing this, but he also couldn't resist her pretty face and her angelic voice. Finally their lips touched in a chaste kiss while there was a rush of warmth throughout their bodies. Her lips were so soft, he could practically feel his lips melting in the tender embrace of her warm lips. It was just like how two hot molten metals fuse with each other to form a whole new element. Never had he thought that a simple kiss could feel so good. Well, if you had your first kiss with a boy who radiated the superiority of the combination of his whole dead clan and the broodiness of a guy who lost his at the hands of his brother's wakizashi, who wouldn't? Foolish little brother, you will always be weak, it's best if you get rid of it. My goal is to cut thee of a certain someone, yeah, that kind of brooder. Well, back to the kiss. Soon they deepened their kiss while Naruto started to rub her lower bare back and Kyuubi started to rub his scalp lovingly. They were on the ninth cloud right now. But he was surprised when her tongue touched his lower lip. He didn't know what to do but followed his instincts by opening his mouth. A whole new fulfilling sensation of electric pleasure bolted throughout his body and invaded his nervous system when he felt her tongue massaging his own. Soon her tongue began exploring his mouth like a lone child in a candy store. Her tongue embracing his, as if asking him to come to its home. Upon his barely controlled instincts, his tongue tenderly entered her mouth before he fervently explored her angelic insides. Her mouth tasted like wild strawberries with a tinge of ripened peaches. She moaned in his mouth while slurping sounds were made as they deliriously kissed each other, saliva dripping from both of their tongues. If Jiraiya would have seen this, he surely would have died of blood loss with a content smile on his face. But upon feeling something hard poke her in her lower region, she moaned loudly, leading to an abrupt stop to their make-out session, both panting heavily with blood-red blush on their faces. "What's wrong with me?" thought Naruto while both of them were breathing heavily. On the other hand, Kyuubi too felt confused but somewhat excited at the strange attraction she felt for him. Although they had only met now, but she could say that she knew him better than anyone in the village. She had watched his memories after all. She knew all of his traits, quirks, his funny persona, his unshatterable confidence, determination and the unbreakable will to never give up, his obsession with ramen, his fondness for his Ayame-ne-chan, Hinata-chan, Benihime-chan, Sum-chan, not the Inuzuka clan head, Yugi-chan, and a girl whose name he never came to know about. But a small part of her knew that she had already fallen for him the moment she watched his life and how he tackled it head-on. Sorry, stuttered Naruto while she watched the other way with a blush, not matching his gaze. Me too, she said meekly. Q-chan, do you like me? Like, in that way? Asked Naruto while she sighed sadly as she rested her head on his chest. I don't know. I'm so confused. I feel very much attracted to you, but... I'm not sure if you'll accept me. I know you like that Hinata girl, but... She inhaled deeply while trying to stop her tears. But, at least give me a chance, Naruto-kun. I know that I was the sole reason you lost everything and had to endure something which no one else should. But I'm ready to do anything for you, anything to redeem myself, anything you ask for. I know that a demon like me does not deserve the love of someone like you, but please. I just can't live without you, she said in a choked voice while she was barely restraining her tears. But when she felt warm droplets on her head, she looked up to see Naruto smiling warmly at her while tears were freely flowing down his face and that his eyes were back to normal blue color. Naruto had never felt so warm and wanted in a long time. He had another person who liked him or rather was attracted to him in a romantic way. While he had grandfatherly, sisterly and brotherly characters in his life, he deeply yearned for physical contact or a romantic relationship. And now he was possibly getting what he wanted all his life, love. Such a simple four-letter word, but so strong that even the demons bow before it. It can fill a person's life with happiness, compassion and joyness beyond imagination. It is what gives the definition of heart and makes the person forget all his memories in his lover's embrace. Keeping his thoughts of love for another day, he took hold of her chin before he kissed her lightly on her cute nose leading to a pink tint on her cheeks. Silly Q-chan, it does not matter to me if you're a demon or not. To me, you're my cute kitsune, the one who stayed with me from the day I was born, the one who constantly helped me in my hardships, the one who I would die to protect. Although I too feel attracted towards you, but I would like to know you, to be your friend, and if possible maybe more. But one thing I promise you on my dream of becoming Hokage, that I would never let the Akatsuki capture you. Ever. That's the promise of a lifetime, said Naruto with determination while cupping her cheek, whereas Kyuubi was extremely happy that he considered her his precious person. I will never leave your side, Naruto-kun. In just a few moments, you have shown me how caring, forgiving, kind and a loving person you are, she thought while rubbing his whisker marks, but giggled when she heard him purr. I didn't know your whiskers were sensitive, Naruto-kun, said a giggling Kyuubi while Naruto blushed in embarrassment. Can I stand now? Asked Naruto with a sheepish grin. She melted right away at seeing his infectious grin. She was a kitsune after all, why wouldn't she like the smiles of her own kind? Sure, she stuttered before standing up. However, there was one thing that Naruto didn't account for, and that was seeing the Kyuubi in all her glory. His face became steamy red before he was propelled back by a large nosebleed. She had the body of a goddess, all the body curves were in the right places leading to our glass figure, and her perky C-cup, soft but firm, accentuated her beauty. Naruto-kun, yelled Kyuubi as she came running towards him. Now he had an even larger nosebleed when he saw her bouncing mounds while she ran towards him. Uzumaki Naruto can't have a normal day in life, he thought while pinching his nose to prevent any more loss of blood. Upon reaching him, she tenderly put his head in her lap with a worried expression on her face. Naruto-kun, what happened? Are you alright? Muttered a dazed Naruto. She blushed heavily when she realized her indecent condition, but inwardly was satisfied with his reaction. But this is your mindscape, so you should be able to materialize whatever you want, she said while he stood up. I don't know much about clothes. I guess a Junin attire would do for now, pondered Naruto as a Junin wear appeared out of nowhere on her body. Q-chan, do you have a name? Asked Naruto while Kyuubi nodded as she didn't like the name, Nine-Tailed, much before speaking. Hi, it's Ayumi. That's what your mother used to call me by. It's a nice name, but can you tell me about my mother? Asked Naruto with a sparkle of hope in his eyes. Ayumi's eyes softened at his question. She could only imagine the frustration and pain of not knowing anything about the one who gave birth to you. Inside this matured Naruto, she could see a boy desperate to know about his parents, a boy who never knew what a mother's love was, a boy who cries every day wanting to see his mother at least once, to be in her embrace, to tell her about his accomplishments, to rest his head on her lap while he cries and tells her about his failures, for her to teach him petty things, to scold and correct him when he does something wrong. Behind this man was a shadowed child desperate for attention and maternal love, or maybe more from her. Hi Naruto-kun. Your mother was from the Whirlpool country, Uzumaki Kushina, who came to Konoha when she was young. You can say that she was as beautiful as me, if not more. She was the definition of angel for men and jealousy for women. But what really made her infamous across the elemental nations was her godly master of water element, equaling your Nadime's prowess in the element, and her status of being a seal master that even Jiraiya the Toad Sannin could not hope to surpass. The complex seal Shiki Fujin, Reaper Death Seal, on your stomach which binds me to you, was her art. She was easily a cage-level shinobi who was given S rank in the bingo books of all the elemental nations. She too, like you, had extremely large chakra reserves, fast healing rate, and had a natural talent for taijutsu and ninjutsu. The Uzumaki clan were a natural with seals, had faster healing rate and longer life spans than normal, so they looked like 18 to 20 years old even if they reached their 50s, but their history is for another day. Your mother had a tomboyish attitude when she was young but became more womanly with time. That's the main reason your mask was even able to confuse the people who knew her closely. You see, when you acted loud, spontaneous and obnoxious, ironically it matched with her personality. However, you did acquire some of her traits like determination, courage, protecting your precious people with your life and the stubbornness to never give up, explained Ayumi with a faraway look on her face while Naruto was brimming with pride and happiness that his mother was such a legendary shinobi. Did you ever talk to her? Asked a smiling Naruto. Hi. She would often tell me about her experiences and how she loved you with every fiber of her being when she was pregnant, she said with a serene expression. But what about my FA? He stopped speaking when suddenly the sewer around him started fading. We'll talk later, Naruto-kun. For now, it seems that you're waking up. Something out there is going on, she said while giving him a small smile and a wink. I'll come later, Ayumi-chan, he said while smiling before completely disappearing from his mindscape. Forest of Death, the clearing. For Kurenai, something fishy was going on here. Sometime after Haruno Sakura had laid the traps, the sound team appeared, demanding for the Uchiha to come out. Here the Haruno girl did the smart thing by surrendering her heaven scroll as the Oto team possessed the earth scroll. But it seemed that they were not interested in the scroll, rather fighting the Uchiha. But why wouldn't they concentrate on the task that they were assigned like every other team? Were they given orders by someone to attack Team 7, and especially the Uchiha? She couldn't help but feel that something really big was going on here. First Orochimaru attacks Team 7, and then the Sound Team. When they found Orochimaru, he was in the process of attacking Naruto, but because of the intervention of Itachi and his partner, he fled the scene. Had he already achieved what he came for? But then she realized that she saw something black on Sasuke's neck, something which she had dismissed as a possible injury and didn't pay any attention as she was worried for Naruto at that time. But now when she put the pieces together, the curse mark. Single quote dot. Of course, the Sharingan. Anko did told her that the bastard wanted Sharingan from the beginning. But why is this sound team concentrated on Uchiha and not the exams? Could it be that Orochimaru was somehow connected to Otogakure? They were recently formed after all. She would have to inform Hokage-sama about this. While thinking, she completely lost track of time, so when she looked down from her hiding position, she was surprised to see an injured Sakura with a short haircut. There was the Taijutsu Genin Rock Lee from Team 9 who was unconscious at the moment, and Team 10 was standing in front of the otherwise okay Sound Team in battle-ready positions. Thanks Ino, said a grateful Sakura who was taking care of Lee at the moment. Don't mention it, forehead. Besides, the last time I checked, we were friends, although a bickering ones at that, said a chuckling Ino. Although this is troublesome, but I guess it won't be too bad to help a fellow team, said Shikamaru lazily as he bent on his knees and formed the hand seal for his shadow possession technique, whereas Choji was still chewing his potato chips rapidly. Guys, I think we should retreat. The Uchiha is unconscious. There's no way we can fight more than one team, said Kin, whose clothes were torn in several places showing a bit of cleavage. She was rather well developed for her age with C-cup, an hourglass figure, creamy tan skin and had a pretty face. Currently she was sustaining minor cuts and bruises, but nothing critical. Before Dosu could reply, she was backhanded rather harshly as she fell to the ground while blood oozed out of her mouth. Shutup bitch. Because of your weakness, that pink-haired was able to survive this long, spat Zaku while Dosu remained indifferent with his teammates' behavior. But, You too, she was interrupted by a kick to her ribs, breaking several of them while she cried out in pain. You dare say that, you bitch? Huh? He said while he continued to stomp on her. Meanwhile, all of them except Dosu were disgusted by what they were witnessing. How can he treat his teammate like that? Thought a shocked Ino with a look of horror on her face. On the other hand, Kurenai was barely restraining herself from killing this genin. Chunin exams or not, she couldn't see any female treated like that. Just as she was about to do something, a malicious and an evil aura washed over the area. Zaku too immediately stopped his stomping, when he felt this evil chakra. But Dosu was familiar with this chakra, the same chakra he always feel whenever Orochimaru or anyone possessing the curse mark was around. All of them turned their heads to see Sasuke coming out of the cave while black stripe markings covered his face and forearms. The genins were rooted at their spots in fear of this powerful and an evil aura that he was emanating. Sasuke had a psychotic grin on his face while he scanned his surroundings, Sharingan activated with bloodlust clearly evident in his eyes. This strength, what is this amazing power that I'm feeling? This is what I wanted all along. Just you wait, Itachi, you will get killed by my hands very soon now, thought Sasuke with an arrogant smirk. So the great Uchiha decides to grace us with his presence. Had a nice nap? Asked Zaku with a smirk on his face. Zaku, I think we should really retreat now. We're in no condition to fight, said Dosu, who could feel Sasuke's cursed chakra growing stronger and more potent with every second. What? You too. Just wait a second while I take care of. Before Zaku could continue further, he was punched in the gut so hard that he instantly lost consciousness while he coughed and his eyes rolled back in his head even before touching the dirt. Except Kurenai, nobody saw him move. At one instance he was walking slowly and at another, he just vanished to appear in front of Zaku. Tish. Pathetic, remarked Sasuke with a smirk. Troublesome, thought the lazy genius. Sasuke-kun, what happened to you? Thought Ino and Sakura simultaneously. He's fast. I didn't even see him. We have to get out of here, thought Dosu while Sasuke kicked Zaku in his stomach, who was currently laying unconscious on the ground, whereas Kin was trembling in fear of the bloodlust that Sasuke seemed to be emanating. But her blood ran cold when Sasuke's blood-red eyes turned to her before he started walking towards her. He wanted to test his newfound strength. Weaklings like you don't deserve to live. You should be honored to die by the hands of an Uchiha, said a smirking Sasuke as he started going through a couple of hand seals. Everyone's eyes widened at hearing him. While it was common to die in these exams, here it was no need to kill her. She was already severely injured and was no threat to them. Sasuke-kun, no, screamed Sakura, but it fell on deaf ears. Somebody, please help me. I don't want to die, thought Kin while tears formed in her eyes. Before Sasuke could finish the hand seals for whatever jutsu he was gonna throw at her, he sensed a huge chakra spike behind him while a calm, peaceful and a serene aura washed the area, overpowering his dark demeanor and bloodlust. All of the genins and Kurani felt a strange feeling of calmness flow through them and oddly made all of their worries go away. Kin could almost no longer feel any pain, which was currently being overwhelmed by this sense of peacefulness and comfort. This is not troublesome, thought an unusual Shikamaru while Choji was still eating his damned chips, albeit a lot slowly than before, and his eyes were closed in contempt like he was getting a blowjob while eating the dream of every Akamaiki. Meanwhile Sakura, Dosu, Ino and Kurenai too were feeling the effects, whereas Lee was still unconscious. However, Sasuke couldn't feel anything due to the curse mark's effects except the chakra spike. He turned to where he felt the spike, but didn't see anything except the trunk cave. Stop this, Sasuke. His eyes widened when he heard an all too familiar voice from where he was facing before, meaning where Kin is. He whipped his head back so fast that you would have thought he broke his neck. Sasuke's and everyone's eyes widened when they saw Naruto standing there in front of Kin facing Sasuke, his hair and cape flowing with the breeze while his ice-cold, blue, eyes pierced through Sasuke's Sharingan. Naruto. What happened to him? Doesn't matter. He's still a loser. With this power, no one can stop me, not even Itachi, thought Sasuke arrogantly after coming over his shock. What happened to you, Dobi? Did you hit puberty? And what's with the change in clothes? Asked Sasuke while smirking. Meanwhile Kurenai was also smirking, but for a different reason. Looks like the hero always arrives at the last moment. Let's see how much you've improved, Naruto-kun. It does not concern you, Sasuke. Don't think acting all cool and mighty will get you anywhere, said Sasuke arrogantly while Shikamaru's sweat dropped. You're the one to talk, troublesome guy. I don't care, just leave the girl and her team. They're already injured and would give us their Earth Scroll, wouldn't they? Asked Naruto as he turned back to glare coldly at Dosu. Meanwhile, Dosu flinched at seeing that icy glare. His eyes were hollow, devoid of any emotion, and promised a lot of pain if he disagreed. He nearly pissed his pants when Naruto's eyes changed to purple color with one ring circumscribing the pupil just for a moment before reverting back to his normal cerulean blue color. However, nobody noticed this except Dosu and Kurenai. Damn, he looks even more hot when he does that, thought Kurenai as she found herself a bit turned on. Oh, of course, stuttered Dosu before throwing the Earth Scroll in Naruto's direction, who caught it before putting it in his shuriken pouch. Meanwhile, Team 10 couldn't believe their eyes, especially Ino, who was blushing furiously. They were all having trouble identifying this genin until their eyes landed on his whiskers, resulting in their jaws getting dropped. Holy cow, is that Naruto? What is going on here? Thought a blushing and a perplexed Ino. You're the most troublesome person I find besides my Ka-san, Naruto, thought Shikamaru. Naruto, you look cool, buddy, thought the food sweeper. On the other hand, Sakura was relieved to see Naruto for the second time and on the same day. Well, that was something. Thank Kami. I hope you can stop Sasuke-kun, Naruto, thought Sakura while she tried to wake up Lee, but it looked like he wouldn't be waking up for some time now. I don't care. Just get out of my way, loser, or I'll have to beat you to it, said Sasuke angrily while Naruto's eyes hardened. Try it, Tem, growled Naruto. Gladly, Dobi. I always wanted to beat the shit out of you, said a smirking Sasuke as purple chakra flared around his body before he dashed towards Naruto. Like before, he just vanished for the genins, but Naruto and Kurenai could clearly see him as his speed was only mid-chunin level now. This would be over in one punch. The Dobi wouldn't even be able to see me, thought Sasuke arrogantly while he readied his fist to punch Naruto before he went for his. As his fist was about to connect, Naruto dodged it easily before delivering a bone-crushing punch to Sasuke's gut, resulting in him getting the wind knocked out and throwing some saliva, which was followed by a roundhouse kick to the side of his head. Sasuke flew back at even greater speed than he came at Naruto while colliding with several trees, breaking them in the process, and finally skidded to a halt as blood seeped out of his forehead and mouth with several bruises here and there due to his collision course while he was clutching his stomach in pain. To rest of the genins, it just happened in a second. First Sasuke just vanished to appear in front of Naruto, got a sucker punch to his gut and then vanished again to be found several meters away from them and was looking like he was beaten like a rag doll. To them, The trees were broken by an invisible force. Sakura was not all that surprised by Naruto's speed as she had seen him fight Orochimaru, but was worried for Sasuke. The Uchiha has no idea who he's dealing with right now, thought a smirking Kurenai while a chibi Kurenai in her mind was cheering with a banner of, "Go Naruto-kun! Go Naruto-kun!" Meanwhile Dosu, Kin and Team 10W are awestruck at the display of strength and speed by Naruto. What the hell happened? Thought a dazed Sasuke as his head was still spinning from the impact of that kick. Even his Sharingan didn't see that coming. That'll bring down a notch, thought a smirking Naruto before he turned to Kin. Are you okay? Asked Naruto with a smile while Kin blushed at seeing his charming smile. Why yeah, I am mean no, she said with a small smile but then realized her condition. Even if she was talking to an enemy, a handsome one at that, she kind of felt safe in his presence, safer than anyone in her village. She was an orphan in her village and always had to fight for food, shelter and herself. Because she was an early bloomer, she had to train herself, defend herself from any possible rape attempts. In Oto, women in general were frowned upon and were considered weaklings. Because of that, her teammates never treated her even humanely. She absolutely despised her village, her teammates and Orochimaru. But was brought out of her musings when she again felt a sense of calmness and sereness flow through her body like before, also noticing that she almost no longer felt that excruciating pain she was feeling a moment ago. Kin looked up to see Naruto bent in front of her while he was applying some kind of white chakra that she had never seen before, on her damaged rib region. She was surprised to see that he wasn't staring at her chest unlike all the males of Oto, but rather was tenderly applying this strange chakra which oddly was working like a painkiller and a relaxation remedy. Meanwhile, oddly Ino and as expected Kurenai were feeling jealous of the treatment that Kin was receiving. Wait, this shouldn't be happening. Of course Naruto is cute, handsome, caring, kind, charming. Ah, what the hell is wrong with me? Thought Ino as she clutched her head while Shikamaru and Choji were puzzled by her awkward behavior. Blondes are just troublesome, thought Shikamaru while Ino was lost in her own thoughts. All her life, she had dreamed of a man who cared for her and loved her. A man who was handsome, kind, loving, funny, caring and a charming person. Sure Sasuke was handsome, but what else? He never smiled, kind, loving and caring were miles away from his name. But now she realized that the reason she was after Sasuke was mainly to prove herself the best, that she was better than Sakura and all her female classmates. She never realized when her silly childish crush got converted into a crippled race of, who gets Sasuke, competition, especially with Sakura. But now that she thought, will she ever be happy if she got Sasuke? A big no. In him, she didn't need the Byakugan to see that he was a stuck-up spoiled genin, who only craved for power and nothing else. But here, she had never seen this side of Naruto. If she knew he was like this, she may have had drop-dead fallen for him in the academy. But she was too blind to see it. She also felt ashamed at how she treated Naruto. Although, she didn't hit him often like Sakura did, but she was still always mean and indifferent to him. Back then, if she would have taken the time of the day to observe him, she would have surely thought of him as a cute, funny and an exciting guy. But maybe they could still be friends, or even more. Maybe she still had a chance. Kaden. Hausenka no Jutsu, Fire Release, Mythical Fire Phoenix Technique. Kin's eyes widened when she saw numerous compressed fireballs coming their way. What a fool. Using fire jutsu when it's raining. Sometimes I question his sanity, thought Naruto as he picked up a blushing kin bridal style and easily dodged the fireballs. Alright Tem, it's time to end this. I've wasted enough time with you, growled Naruto as he created 3 shadow clones, Kin still in his arms who was unconsciously snuggling into his chest. Right now, I'd give anything to be in her position, thought Kurenai longingly. Shutup Dobi, I'm an Uchiha, you should be honored that you're fighting me, spat Sasuke as his purple chakra flared. I would rather be honored to kick that stick deeper into your stinking, said Naruto with a bored-like expression on his face while everyone present except Sasuke and Sakura were struggling to control their laughter. That curse mark is getting out of control. I have to do something and quick. I should preserve my chakra, so sub-elemental jutsus are out of the question, but the basic ones, he'll just copy. No way I'm giving him anything on a silver platter. But wait. Yeah, that might work, thought Naruto as an idea popped into his mind. Why you loser, growled the Uchiha before he was interrupted by Naruto. Look, Itachi, behind you, yelled Naruto while pointing his finger behind Sasuke. What? Where is he? I'm gonna kill that traitor, exclaimed Sasuke as he looked around frantically behind him. Meanwhile Naruto signaled his first shadow clone who went through a couple of hand signs at mid-chunin pace. On the other hand, Naruto and Kurenai were having trouble controlling their laughter. The Uchiha prodigy fell for a lame trick. Both thought simultaneously. Megan. Narakumi no Jutsu, demonic illusion, hell viewing technique. Sasuke's eyes widened when he saw Itachi shimmer into existence with the dead bodies of his clan laying at his feet. You'll always be Wiko Tudo, said Itachi in a monotone voice. Sasuke immediately became enraged and was about to attack Itachi when his Sharingan noticed the chakra fluctuations around his surroundings. A genjutsu, thought Sasuke as he immediately dispelled it. Hehe. Too late Sasuke Tem, said the real Naruto who was currently holding kin while the shadow clone who casted the genjutsu had his palm open to face Sasuke. Bansho Tenin, all creation attraction, Sasuke's eyes widened when he felt an invisible attracting force on his body and was pulled towards the shadow clone at high speeds. Meanwhile the second shadow clone was already going through a short set of hand seals. Sweden. Sujinheki, water release. Water encampment wall, whispered the second shadow clone as he slammed both of his palms onto the ground, and using the water from rain, created a water wall in front of them while the third clone also went through a couple of hand seals. Let's fry the Tem, thought the third shadow clone with a smirk. Raiden. Kaminari Kangekiha, lightning release. Thunder inspiration wave, exclaimed the clone as he shot a concentrated wave of intense white electricity from his index finger into the water wall, the other hand holding the wrist of his attacking hand. He kept his finger in position to control the electricity so that it only flows through the water wall and does not electrocute anybody else. When Sasuke collided with the wall, he could only scream from the intense pain he was feeling, his whole body twitching due to the shockwave while the others flinched at his condition. The curse mark receded back while Sasuke slipped into unconscious as he fell on the wet ground with a thud. Naruto dispelled his shadow clones while everyone's jaws were on the ground. He just pulled off a feat that not even chunins are capable of. He already knows chakra nature manipulation, and that too with 2 elements. What was that jutsu that pulled the Uchiha? And most of all, how in the name of 9 holy flaming hells can he do a genjutsu, thought Kurenai as she rubbed her temples in frustration. He's on a whole other level than us, thought all the genins except Kin who was currently enjoying the warmth of Naruto's body. At the same time, Neji and Tenten arrived to see the current scene. Tenten went over to wake up Lee while Neji landed in front of Naruto. He had seen the fight between the Uzumaki and the Uchiha from his Byakugan and was surprised to see Naruto's skill, but still, fate has decreed this genin a loser. Fate has decreed you a hindrance Uzumaki, said Neji in his cold tone as he glared at Naruto, his Byakugan blazing to add to the effect. And fate has decreed you a stuck-up Hyuga, growled Naruto as he glared back while Kin restrained herself from laughing at the comment. Neji, let's go, Lee's not waking up, we'll have to carry him, said Tenten but not before blushing when she saw Naruto. Know this that your fate has already been decided, said Neji as he left the area with his teammates. Phew. Well, that went well, said a grinning Naruto. Kin, what do you think you're doing laying in his arms? Let's get out of here you weakling, spat Dosu. Naruto frowned at the way Dosu talked to her. He could tell she was not treated well by her teammates, if her shivering in fear was not any indication to go by. He looked at her when he felt her clutch him tightly to her and was surprised to see her eyes. They were pleading, almost begging him to not let her go, just like his were when he was with the Hokage after an attack from the villagers. Her face looked so pretty and cute, small glistening raindrops on her lips and her sparkling black eyes made him want to kiss her and he almost did. She'll not be going anywhere. We'll take her with us to the tower. You already have one injured teammate to deal with, I'll take care of her, said Naruto with authority while glaring at Dosu. But she's our teammate, Dosu was interrupted was Naruto. And you don't treat her like one. Now get out of here before I kick your like the tem, said Naruto with a threatening glare. Dosu did not argue much, rather took an unconscious Zaku and got out of the area. Meanwhile, Kin was barely holding back tears of happiness. For the first time in her life, someone had helped her and treated her humanely, well except for her best friend Tayuya. Thank you so much, said a blushing Kin as she felt him clutch her to his chest tightly. Not a problem Kin-chan. By the way, my name is Uzumaki Naruto, said a grinning Naruto while Kin nodded with a smile and a pink tint on her cheeks. He then gazed towards Sasuke and sighed. Why wouldn't you learn Sasuke? I know you suffered at the hands of Itachi-sensei, but power isn't everything. I promised sensei that I would look out for you, but if I have to break every bone in your body for you to see the reality, then so be it, thought Naruto with sadness while eventually it stopped raining. Yo, troublesome guy, got a minute there, said Shikamaru in a bored tone as he waved at Naruto. He turned his head and a smile graced his lips. Him, Shikamaru, Choji and Kiba were best friends in academy. Although, he and Kiba had a friendly rivalry, but Shikamaru and Choji were in a sense, true friends for him. They played together in the academy, ate together and bunked classes together, but later went their separate ways. However, Shikamaru and Choji were still best friends. But among the rookie 9, ones that Naruto trusted the most were Choji, Shikamaru and Hinata. Hey there lazy, said Naruto with a goofy grin. Ramen, greeted Choji with a smirk, ah barbecue. I see you still managed to sneak some food from the proctors, said Naruto as he glanced at the potato chips packet in Choji's hands. So Naruto, no offense but tell me one thing, are you the strong, genius and a prodigy one we saw a moment ago or the weak, idiot and a dead last we've seen in the academy? Asked Shikamaru with rare curiosity in his voice. Oh ho, so I've confused the Shugi genius, that counts for a party, hee. Well, for your question, mix both the personalities, what do you get? Asked a grinning Naruto. An enigma, said a bored Shikamaru. That's what I am, Shika. That's what I am, said Naruto while Kin could only blink at the awkward conversation going between them. This was the chunin exams, damn it. Every team for itself and they were acting like nothing was going on. But she could tell that Naruto was on his guard if they tried to attack him. So Naruto, care to tell us about your changes? Asked Choji. That, you'll have to ask the Hokage. But that aside, you aren't going to try anything funny, are you? 'Cause I don't want to hurt my longtime friends, said Naruto in a serious tone. We aren't that low to attack a fellow squad who's already crippled. Besides, if we would have wanted your scroll, we wouldn't have intervened. So yeah, you can keep the scrolls, said Shikamaru in a lazy tone while Naruto nodded with his reason as he found no deception in his words, but still wasn't going to relax until they left. He knew Shikamaru was a genius and wasn't going to underestimate him. Hey Naruto, said a meek voice. Naruto tilted his head to see Ino standing behind her teammates. Instead of greeting her like he always did because of his mask, a deep frown etched on his face. What are you planning, Ino? If you think that your nice scroll act would get you the scrolls, then you're dead wrong, said Naruto seriously while Team 10's and Kin's eyes widened at his hostility. What are you talking about, Naruto? We told you, spoke Choji, but he was interrupted. I don't care. I trust you and Choji but not her, never. Spat Naruto, his insecurities rising to the surface. He could accept Sakura's sudden change in behavior due to the trauma of fighting a Sannin and that she was his teammate, but here Ino, who wasn't even his teammate, just coming out of the blue and greeting him like that, he couldn't trust her. After all, she too treated him like trash, though not to Sakura's extent, but still, this might be a plot to steal their scrolls and impress her oh-so, Sasuke-kun. But I don't want the scrolls, Naruto. I was just greeting you, said Ino in a sad tone. Stop your bullshit, Ino. You mean to tell me that after all these years you're properly greeting me now? When the chunin exams are going on? I don't believe that crap. Why shouldn't I think that you're trying another lame trick to impress Sasuke? Said Naruto angrily. Tears threatened to fall from Ino's eyes, and they did, but weren't noticeable as they mixed with water droplets on her face due to the rain. While Shikamaru and Choji could understand Naruto's logic, she did treat him badly, so they can't accept him to even treat her as a peer so quickly. We should be going. See you at the tower, Shika. Choji, said Naruto as he went past them with Kin in his arms towards Sakura, who was currently tending to Sasuke, whereas Team 10 went their separate way with a silently sobbing Ino. Kin was confused as to why he behaved that way, but she knew better than to interfere into someone's personal matters. Great. Now Sakura's gonna revert back to her fangirl mode. To think that I thought she could change, thought Naruto with frustration evident on his face. He sighed while Kin watched him with confusion. How is his condition, Sakura? Asked Naruto while expecting a banshee screech of, Naruto baka. Look what you did to my Sasuke-kun. But he was really flabbergasted when she instead smiled at him. Oh, he's much better now. He only has a mild fever. The beating that you gave him must have pushed those black markings back, Shanaru, said Sakura while playfully screaming the last part as she waved her fist in air. A large sweat drop formed on Kin's head. This team is rather weird. I can see why Orochimaru had an interest in this squad. The Tem always had a fetish for weird things after all, she thought afterwards while Naruto was just gobsmacked. Hee. Sorry, just joking. But yeah, he's gonna be fine now. It was all thanks to you, Naruto, that he was brought back. I could see that the foul chakra was interfering with his mind. The use of electricity to stop that mark from spreading and stun him was an ingenious idea indeed, said Sakura seriously, not at all surprised that Naruto knew chakra nature manipulation as he did warned her before while Kin nodded with her. Who are you? There's no way that you're the Sakura who I know, said Naruto shakily, not able to contain his shock. I told you Naruto, I wouldn't blame you over something so trivial. You're the strongest member of our team, so it was natural you had to stop him, she said with conviction in her voice while Kin could only wonder about what was going on between these two. Naruto could only nod dumbly. Was this a surprise Naruto day? First that Proctor says that she knows about his mask, then that snake freak attacks them, then a good Itachi comes to save the day, who was supposed to be a psycho killer lusting for power, then he comes to know about his dujutsu, Uchiha clan and whatnot, then he learns that Sakura was willing to change, which was in a sense a rigid metal trying to bend its shape. Then the biggest shocker, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the supposed almighty demon so fearsome that even the cage-level shinobi pissed their pants in its presence, was a female, a damn hot female, and if that was not enough, she was attracted to him. Oh, no doubt, he would always remember this day, the day that changed his life drastically, the chunin exams day. He could only describe this day in only one word: troublesome. I need my ramen, damn it, thought Naruto as he inwardly cried anime tears. The other shinobi may find it funny, but ramen was his stress buster, his way of coping with so much stress and depression in his life, along with training of course. That aside, he was brought out of his musings when he felt a soft hand on his cheek, whisker marks to be specific. Naruto-kun, are you alright? Naruto. What? Asked a blushing Naruto when he felt Kin's soft touch and heard her soft voice followed by a shout from Sakura. Sheesh. What's wrong with you? I was asking you about what should we do next? Asked Sakura with an annoyed expression while Naruto laughed sheepishly. Meanwhile Kin was as red as a tomato. What's wrong with me? We've just met, and I'm already calling him Naruto-kun. Seeing his tired expression, she couldn't help but worry for him. Seeing his cute whisker marks, she couldn't resist but touch them. Seeing his sheepish smile, her heart fluttered. What was this strange feeling, emanating from the pit of her stomach which spreads through her body like a wildfire? Hey, sorry. But, I think we should get to the tower as fast as possible seeing as we already have both scrolls. There's no need to rest here or the other teams might attack us. We have 3 days to reach there, so we can head there at a steady pace, he explained while Sakura nodded. But what about her? She's our enemy and attacked us. She tried to kill me even though I offered our scroll, said Sakura while glaring at Kin. I'm really sorry, but I had no choice. If you didn't notice, I was constantly holding back against you and fought you myself so that my teammates couldn't injure you badly. I was trying to stall time as much as I could. When your fellow team came to you, I advised my team to leave in hopes that they would agree, but they only treat me like some useless pile of trash, said Kin as she sobbed at the last part while clutching Naruto's cape to her chest tightly, which was currently acting as a blanket for her. Sakura looked at her with pity and sadness. She could only wonder what would happen if Naruto and Sasuke treated her like that. She's just like me. I'll make sure to at least protect her from those idiots, thought Naruto as he clutched Kin to his chest tightly while she snuggled into it and started crying louder. Shish, Kin-chan, don't cry. I'll make sure that they wouldn't lay a single finger on you, whispered Naruto in her ear. Really? Asked Kin with teary eyes and a cute expression on her face. Naruto couldn't resist and kissed her on her petty nose, leading to a burning red face of Kin. Absolutely. exclaimed a grinning Naruto, who created two shadow clones but with a little difficulty as Kin was still in his arms. At times like these I wish I could do seal less jutsus. Oh well, I guess I have to improve my chakra control or wait for the ascension of Rinnegan, he pondered. Naruto, I think I should carry her or else you wouldn't be able to fight if another team attacks us, spoke Sakura while Naruto shook his head. Can't do that, Sakura. I'm providing Kin-chan my chakra constantly, which is in a sense acting as a painkiller. Several of her ribs are broken and needs to be treated as fast as possible. Besides, you're already injured and low on chakra, you wouldn't be able to carry her for long. My shadow clone here will carry Sasuke while the other will keep a watch for any backside attacks, explained Naruto while Sakura was surprised that he formulated a plan. As far as she knew, he never bothered for any plans or strategies, but maybe that too was a part of his mask. You take a food pill. I'll carry Kin and remain in front, you would stay behind me followed by my shadow clones, said Naruto. That sounds like a plan. But wait, how can your chakra reduce her pain? That's not possible unless you know medical jutsus, said Sakura while Naruto glared at her. Oh right, no questions, said Sakura as she put a finger on her lips while the shadow clone slung Sasuke on his shoulder. If we move steadily, we can reach there in a couple of hours excluding any attacks or hindrances, said Naruto, but noticed that Kin had fallen asleep in his arms, resulting in him smiling warmly at her peaceful face whereas Sakura ate a food pill. Alright, let's go, said Naruto as they all left the clearing. All the while, Kurenai was listening to their conversation as she had moved closer to their position under a powerful genjutsu. She pitied the Yamanaka's condition, but the girl had it coming. On the other hand, she was saddened after hearing about Kin's insecurities. She was also surprised by Sakura's behavior and the level of maturity shown by her. But most importantly, she was proud of her Naruto for the way he handled the situation. He definitely deserved a kiss from her, or maybe more. She blushed while thinking about the kissing part. Kurenai had never kissed anyone. She could only wonder how a kiss with Naruto would feel like. She was brought out of her daydreaming when Team 7 along with Kin moved out of the area and hence began following them at a safe distance. Team 7 after several hours of traveling. Moo. Naruto. I'm tired, we should rest up a bit, whined Sakura for, who know how many, times while Naruto sighed. She really has low stamina, thought Naruto while Kin was still asleep in his arms and Sasuke was unconscious. Take another food pill, Sakura, we're not stopping until we reach the tower. It is only an hour away now, said Naruto, who had his Rinnegan activated, but Sakura couldn't see it as she was behind him. We could have reached the tower earlier if it weren't for your stupid detours. And you should know that taking another food pill would cause me exhaustion later on, said Sakura in irritation. During their traveling, Naruto and the shadow clone at the last constantly had their Rinnegan activated. With his Dujutsu's ability to see chakra and heightened senses due to Ayumi, he was constantly changing routes to avoid traps or confrontations with any team. You can rest for 3 days when we reach there. Now stop your whining and take a food pill, spoke Naruto while Sakura huffed as she ate a food pill, muttering words like, "meanie," in her breath. Someone's been following us since we started moving, I should check it out, thought Naruto as he gave a mental command to the shadow clone at last to confront their follower. Meanwhile, Kurenai was following them for 2 hours and wasn't winded at all. She was a chunin after all. Right now, she was only using AB rank genjutsu, enough to hide from a chunin. But she was surprised when the shadow clone at the last of the group suddenly started moving backwards in her direction. Did he notice me? Damn. Should have used a higher level genjutsu, but could it be that the Rinnegan can see chakra too, like the Sharingan and Byakugan? She thought while her heart started beating a little faster at the prospect of meeting Naruto, even if it was a shadow clone. Although, she had met him a couple of times before, but then she only acted like a sensei and her attitude had remained professional. But now, she could open herself to him, she could melt the ice she had created around her. Kurenai was brought out of her musings when she heard Naruto's voice. "Come out whoever you are. I know you're there," said the clone Naruto, who abruptly spiked his chakra to Chunin levels for a second, letting to the genjutsu getting dispelled. Damn. This was a high-level jutsu, meaning whoever is here is definitely a chunin or above. I would have to stall as much time as I can so that the boss's team can get a safe distance from whoever this is. But could it be Orochimaru? Thought the clone as he readied himself for an attack, his Rinnegan activated. But he was surprised, when suddenly he was lifted in air while wooden branches wrapped around his black Chunin-like vest. He turned his head to see a large tree behind him while cherry petals were flowing in midair around him. Another genjutsu, thought the clone before he felt the cold metal of a kunai against his neck. My, cautious aren't we, Naruto-kun?" whispered Kurenai in a changed childish-like feminine voice in his ear while she licked his ear lobe. He blushed when he felt her warm and soft tongue on his skin. I think I've heard that voice before, thought Naruto before his eyes widened in realization. Could it be her? Of course. How could he ever forget that voice? "Be Benihime-chan," whispered Naruto in shock. "Hehe. You finally remembered me, Naruto-kun. I'm surprised. It's been 6 years after all," whispered Kurenai. Flashback 6 years ago. A young 6 years old gloomy Naruto was sitting on a swing in the park while he watched other children play. He had tried so many times to play with them, but they would only beat him, bully him or call him monster while their parents glared at him. He was idly swinging with his head down when someone shadowed his face. He lifted his head to see 3 beautiful girls of his age standing in front of him. One had curly long black hair with crimson eyes, the other had brownish hair tied in a ponytail with the fairest skin tone, and the last one had long flowing purple hair. "Do you want play with us?" asked the crimson-eyed Kurenai, one while Naruto's eyes widened. "You, play with me?" asked young Naruto with a cute expression. Kurenai, Hana and Yugao had to resist the urge to just glomp him. "Sure. My name is Sum and these are my friends Benihime and Yugi," said Hana while Kurenai and Yugao smiled at him. "My name, Naruto. But they call me Demon." "You shouldn't play with demons," said Naruto as he gazed sadly towards the ground. "The villagers are idiots, Naruto. They just can't see that you're not a demon. You should just ignore them," said Kurenai with a hint of anger in her voice. "Me? No demon?" asked Naruto with hope. "Nope. You're just like us, Naruto," said Yugao as she dragged him to his feet by holding his hand. "Really? I'm like you?" asked Naruto with teary eyes. He thought that he was a monster, that's why the other kids didn't play with him. But he became ecstatic and happy when Hana shook her head. "Yay. I knew. Dadbao. Thank you. You 3, very beautiful, like angels," said young Naruto in a thinking pose, leading to the transformed Kunoichis sporting a blush before they snapped out of their embarrassment. "Come on. Let's play together. From now on, we'll be friends," said Kurenai while she dragged him with her. After some time, they said their goodbyes to him and went their own way. For months, they continued to play with him, often coming to his apartment and helping him with small chores. Over the months, they taught him how to speak, write and read properly, cooking, etc. They couldn't do much as they were 13 years old only right then, but they made sure to help him as much as possible. Over time, they fell in love with him but were ashamed to admit it because of the age gap, while Naruto too became fond of them. But eventually, Hiruzen caught just of it and prohibited them from meeting him again. Naruto waited for his friends in the park or asked the villagers about it. Nobody knew them, or rather didn't bother to answer him, as they were interested in beating him to an inch of his life. He couldn't ask his Gigi as they had told him them not to tell about their friendship to anybody, even the Hokage. Meanwhile, Hiruzen didn't believe Hana, Yugao and Kurenai, as they were only 13 years old and somebody may have tricked them in befriending Naruto and then attacking him. This had already happened several times, with some children befriending Naruto because of their parents' persuasion, and when he went to their homes to play, they would poison the food and planned several other methods to get rid of the demon spawn. So the Hokage had to be absolutely sure that Naruto stayed in trusted company. There were only 3 people that he trusted Naruto with right then: Kakashi, Jiraiya and Makoto. Jiraiya had a spy network to maintain. Makoto wanted to, but Fugaku didn't allow her, and Kakashi had drowned himself in Anbu missions in despair because of his sensei's death. Flashback end. Of course I remember you. But where did you go? I searched for you everywhere. Why did you leave me? Asked Naruto while tears leaked out of his eyes, while his eyes turned to normal oceanic blue color. And where's Sum-chan and Yugi-chan? Are they here too? Dadbao, said Naruto frantically while he tried to free himself. Warmness flushed Kurenai's heart when she came to know that he still remembered them and was worried for them. She released the genjutsu as Naruto snapped out of it to find Kurenai standing in front of him while his eyes widened in surprise. Kurenai-sensei, what are you doing here, and where's Benihime-chan? Asked a blushing Naruto while he pinched his nose to stop the blood from coming out. Due to rain, Kurenai was wet and her clothes were tightly hugging her body, showing her curves and luscious D-cups. Even her nipples were noticeable due to the coldness. But on the other hand, he was also afraid of her a bit. He'd heard about the famous ice queens of Konoha, but among them, had only met Kurenai until now. He had seen the way she treated men who looked at her in any indecent way. Even those who behaved properly, she was usually cold to them, like she was assuming they would ask her out or something. But he knew that it was all an act. She too wore a mask like him, so naturally she noticed it, him being experienced in the art of deception after all. Inside this cold sheet of glacial ice, he knew there existed a vulnerable and a lonely soul. Eyes were the windows of one's soul after all. Were you checking me out, young man? Asked Kurenai as she fakely narrowed her eyes while Naruto's eyes widened. No. Of course not. Why would I even dare think about you like that? Said Naruto while he waved his hands defensively. Are you saying that I'm not good enough for you? Asked Kurenai threateningly, still continuing her charade. What? He exclaimed with surprise evident on his face while she slowly advanced towards him. You had me right. Am I not good enough for you? Asked Kurenai as her heart sped up a bit while waiting for his answer. Of course, sensei. You're very beautiful, like a goddess. I mean, any guy in his right mind can't ignore your unearthly beauty, said the clone Naruto honestly while she blushed furiously, and Naruto, still as oblivious as ever even with his changed personality, glanced at her in confusion. Nay, sensei, your face is all red. I think you'll catch a fever if you remain wet, said Naruto before Kurenai vanished completely from his sight to appear behind him. She circled her slender arms around his waist, her body tightly pressed against his while her head rested on her shoulders. There, this is much more comfortable, Naruto-kun, said Kurenai in Benihim's voice while his eyes widened as he saw Kurenai from the corner of his eyes. Don't tell me that you're Benihime-chan, whispered Naruto in pure shock. I've been waiting for this day, Kitsune-chan, whispered Kurenai while Naruto's eyes widened at the name. The only ones to ever call him that were Benihime, Sum and Yugi, often to tease him because of his foxy grin and whisker marks. Why? Whispered Naruto after coming over his initial shock while Kurenai blinked in confusion. Why did you leave me? Why lie to me? Why didn't you show me your true self? Asked Naruto while his spiky hair shadowed his eyes. It's a long story, Naruto-kun, said Kurenai. I've plenty of time. I'm only a shadow clone after all, said Naruto while Kurenai nodded. She then started explaining about why they had to transform themselves because of the villagers and Hokage and reasons behind them leaving suddenly because of the Hokage. Meanwhile, Naruto was getting angrier and enraged by the second. You mean to tell me that Gigi stole from me something that was possibly the only source of love, friendship and happiness I had in my life? Asked Naruto while white chakra with a red hue started to pour out of his body. Calm down, Naruto-kun. I know what he did was wrong, we tried to reason with him. But at least, from now on we can be together as he allowed us today to reveal ourselves, said Kurenai while rubbing his cheek with one hand and his hair with the other. He inhaled deeply to calm himself down, also noticing that she smelled of red roses and white lily while gradually his chakra receded back. He blushed when he noticed how tightly her impressive bust was pressed to his back while she smirked at seeing his red face. Like what you feel, Naruto-kun, she said while rubbing her against his back while his blush got darker in shade. Where